Bioclean Operator meetings. So today we have a gentleman that Nate's familiar with. His name is Caleb Willinger, and he works really hard right now. He's been working so hard during his COVID-19 kind of shutdown. He can't stop working, is what I heard. So he uses all this time working on fixing issues that he wants to take care of with his own business. He's started to work on a new onboarding process, his website. And at a young age of 22, Caleb, he had no idea what he was doing. But then over the course of the last 20 years, he's grown his company into just a one-man operation to routinely generating 100 grand in business a month and having 15 people. So he likes to incorporate systems, automation, a good culture, and really that's evident in his business. And he's passionate about sharing that with us. We're all entrepreneurs, we're business owners, and he wants to teach us some of the things too. So at this time, let's give our attention to Caleb Willinger.
Okay, can we hear me? Is this thing on? So yeah, thanks a lot for having me, guys. I'm not sure in your industry how much you've been impacted. I talk with Nate fairly often, and it seems like his operation has been impacted pretty significantly. Not to the point where he's completely shut down, but you know, it's definitely had a hit on his revenue and changed sort of the landscape of what his year is going to look like. And I would imagine it's probably similar with most of you guys. Is that true? Yeah, to a certain degree. So it seems like there's kind of a wide variance depending on where you're at in the country in terms of how badly you've been affected by the virus. But one thing that I've noticed is that regardless of how you've been impacted, there are going to be some opportunities that come from this, and there are also going to be some obstacles and maybe some pitfalls that everybody needs to try to look out for. And for me personally, my business has basically been completely shut down for about a month, and we've got another week and a half or so to go. So we've done almost zero revenue since around April 1st. And so that's been, you know, definitely a challenge and not something that we were anticipating. So one of the things that I tried to do when I realized that was sort of an unavoidable situation was I tried to just take a different perspective on the opportunities. And rather than focus on what I was losing out on, I decided to just really lock in on what I could get out of this unique circumstance. And one of the questions that just popped into my head was, when was the last time I had, you know, a large block of available time where I wasn't going to be busy with just day-to-day activities, keeping the wheels turning on my business? There's not much happening. There's really not much that is critically necessary for me to be involved in every single day. So I've got all this time, and it's like, what am I going to do with that? And so I just dedicated myself to making the best out of that. You know, and maybe you guys can ask yourself this: if your schedule's not as full as it normally would be, then that's going to create some time and maybe some headspace for you. And that's an opportunity if you choose to look at it that way. So that's a chance for you to maybe dive into some of those systems in your business that you've neglected or that have been on the back burner, refine some of the things that sort of work, but maybe could be better. Work on training your staff, you know, in maybe some different disciplines, or getting more efficient or more skilled. Maintenance, there's a lot of things that you could use this extra time for, just to be able to get the most out of the opportunity, as opposed to focusing on how much this is costing you, how much this is holding you back. And so what I've experienced is it's had a twofold benefit. It's kept me in a positive headspace. So I feel like when we are ready to get back to work, when things open back up, the energy level is going to be really high. Everybody's on my team is positive, because that's trickled down from me. But also we're really, really prepared. And we're actually in a better position than we would have been if we would have gotten back to work. You know, my business is somewhat seasonal. where, late March, early April, we start to get really busy. And we were ready, we were prepared, and we'd spent a lot of the winter dialing things in. But this extra month to 6 weeks of ramp up time, so to speak, that just kind of got thrown on us, really turned out to be an awesome opportunity. And I feel like we're probably going to be in a much better position to maximize what's left of the year, just because of the things we've been able to work on, the back end stuff, these last few weeks, so that we're even more prepared, more efficient, more dialed in for when it's time to go back to work. So I kind of want to get some input from you guys, for those of you who have, it hasn't been a normal April for many of you guys. What are some things that you've done to try to make use of maybe the extra time that you have, or the extra headspace that you have, because you're just not as busy? Anybody have any good things that they can share?
I think one thing that we've been able to do here is, kind of organize our shop a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great opportunity to do that. What's everybody's take on systemizing their businesses? Is that something that in general in your industry you feel like it's pretty easy to get things set up so that you can operate smoothly? Or do you feel like you're sometimes running around kind of playing whack-a-mole, trying to put fires out, solve problems, things like that? Does anybody have any input on effective ways that they found to systemize their businesses?
Well, when you say systemize your business, can you explain what kind of things you would maybe specifically include in that?
Yeah. So, for instance, one of the things that we really had to get better at was like tracking our inventory. So keeping track of our equipment, our chemicals, supplies, consumables, things like that. I'm sure you guys have experienced this. You aren't really paying super close attention to your supplies, and the next thing you know, you're almost out, and you're frantically trying to order stuff so that you can resupply, so that you don't run out of the things that you need to keep operating. And so putting in place like an inventory tracking system, or a process, a spreadsheet, something like that, so that you can make sure that you avoid that problem because you stay out in front of it. So in your industry, do you guys have software and tools that sort of lend themselves to that kind of organization and tracking and systemizing?
This particular group, Caleb, is pretty similar to me, and as well as you know me, it's as simple as possible. So I know Blaine they're just, I don't know did you guys adopt Workwave yet or not, but they've been using software that was real old but real simple. And I think that's how a lot of guys here operate. But as far as systems and stuff, I know like we worked on our hiring process and the checklist on everything that needs to be going on. Because before, and I know for a lot of the guys here, you got a pulse, you got a driver's license, you can go in the truck and,
right,
we'll teach you on the spot. So
right,
I know that's one of the big things I work on is like those checklists of what actually needs to be trained.
right.
And I've utilized both my technicians and our office staff, because our office staff is working from home.
Mm-hmm.
By force, we had to start putting checklists in place so that, paperwork can get done correctly from 3 different locations instead of just slid across one desk. So.
Right. Yeah. So things like that, it can take a while to get that built out and put into place. It takes work to get that set up, but it's one of those things where if you buy out the time, get it set up and get your people familiar with it, it saves you so much time on into the future, because you don't have to keep repeating yourself, or you don't have to keep training. You don't have to be as involved maybe in training because you've got a training program. So let me, I'll do a screen share if that's okay. I'll show you an example of something that I put together that has been kind of on the back burner for me for a long time. And so this is in my, we use Talent LMS as our training platform. So this is basically an online training program that we put together. And one thing that I wanted was a more structured way to take your new hire and run them through their first day in your company. all the things that they would need to know, just the basic stuff about what it's like to work at your company, get them prepared, and have it systemized and structured so that everybody goes through the same thing in the same way and it's repeatable. And so I spent a couple of days putting this together recently, and it's designed so that you sit a new hire down in front of this course and they just go through it item by item by item. And so there's videos, there's some links to websites. It covers things like our org chart, the way our company is designed and who's responsible for who, things like that. Our company meeting schedule. So that's something that a new hire is going to need to know about so that they know where to be at what time and what we're going to talk about during those company meetings. We do a profit and loss training, just like a walkthrough of a profit and loss report. And that's really helpful because your technicians, your production people, if they understand how the money flows into a business and where it all has to go and what's left at the bottom, it gives them some better perspective on just how difficult it is and all the things that have to happen for a business like yours to function and stay healthy. But they can also see exactly where their paycheck comes from and how their behavior or their activity either adds to the bottom line or subtracts from it. So that was another thing that we put in there. And then we put in all this training for the different apps that my technicians have to use. We have a certification process. We talked about there's some HR training stuff in here. And so putting something like this together, yeah, it takes several hours or maybe a day to build something like this. But now that it's done, every single new hire can go through this, and we don't need an individual person to sit with them and train them all these things one-on-one. And so that saves you that time of having to repeat yourself and repeat the same training over and over and over again because you have a process that does it for you. So this is the kind of strategy that I've tried to use that's freed me up a lot from a lot of the mundane day-to-day tasks, and it's allowed me to focus on bigger things like growing my business, training, leadership development within my company, building out my team, things like that. The things that really move your business forward in terms of growth and also in terms of just buying you some freedom and kind of getting you personally where you want to go with your business. So is there any questions I can answer for anybody in terms of putting together systems or kind of automating some of this stuff? Because that's really the whole goal here, is to try to automate as much of this as you can so that you don't have to spend your time on it.
Before you, this is something that you just completed for your company, is that correct?
Yeah, this is part of a much larger training program that we have. So you can see we've got a bunch of other modules, and we did really well with our actual technician training, the skills of the job, the tools, things like that. Safety training was built out pretty well, but this was something that wasn't as important. So it kind of got shelved for a long time and I never got around to it. Now that I've had, a couple of weeks here where I've had some time to work on this kind of thing, something I always wanted to do. So I was able to take advantage of the time and just build this out just here in this last week. And so that, I think that's kind of the point I'm getting at, is sometimes you're presented with these challenges, and if you can find a way to find the silver lining, a lot of times you can come out the other side of that challenge in a much better position than you ever thought you would have. And that's kind of what I've been trying to angle for as we've gone through this COVID-19 crisis.
Caleb, how long would it take a new hire to work through all these different trainings you have set up here?
We currently have it set up to go from basically brand new first day to a level 1 technician. So that's a functional independent technician within 2 weeks. That's our goal. That's sort of the roadmap that we set up for our technicians in our business. Now that includes learning a number of different services. We offer 5 or 6 different services in my business. So there's training for each of those. That's part of that. In fleet washing, the timeline might be shorter because it's relatively less number of services or skills maybe that you need to learn. So I think every business, every industry would have to kind of figure out what the sweet spot is as far as your timeline, getting somebody ramped up to being productive and profitable.
How have you found this, or how have your employees, even before, this part of the training, how has that benefited you?
It's been huge because, like I said before, I used to be the one standing next to a technician and walking them through this stuff step by step by step. So for 4 or 5 days when they first started, I'd have to be with them. They'd be shadowing me, or they'd be shadowing one of my crew leaders, and just sort of learning everything by osmosis. And so that's not only the technician wrapped up in training, that's the trainer wrapped up in training too. So you're paying all that labor, all that lost revenue, because that trainer is now focused on training this person, and all that lost attention. And now when you automate it by creating a program like this, you still have to have some trainer interaction. It's still, there's got to be some hands-on and field training, but 70 or 80% of the knowledge part of it can be automated. And then it's literally like the new hire just does it themselves. They follow the process. They learn all the classroom stuff that they need to know through the process. And it requires almost zero time from anyone else in my company. So it took something that was this huge project that would take weeks and a lot of my time and attention, and eliminated that. So the cost up front is the time and the energy that it takes to create things like that, but it's an investment, and it pays off 100 times or more, on into the future. And so it freed me up a lot. It freed up my my operations manager a lot, and so we were able to focus on other things.
And as far as some of your employees go, do you find that when you have trainings like this kind of in place, are they vested more, or what would you say is your, how long are the employees staying with you, or what's your feedback on that?
Yeah, as far as retention goes, I don't know that it plays into retention. That's more of a team culture thing to me. But in terms of the confidence level of our technicians when they get started, and their ability to become productive and profitable, it's off the charts how much better it's been over the last couple of years since we implemented this. It used to take probably 6 months to work somebody up to a level where I felt comfortable that they could be a crew leader. And after implementing this, we've had people run through this program and achieve crew leader status within 2 months. So it's been a significant impact. And as you guys know, the faster you can onboard somebody and turn them into a productive, profitable member of your team, the better, because then you can send them out, they're out generating revenue, turning a profit, and you can bring the next batch in. And so just, it's a tool that will increase your capacity, just simply in terms of revenue, like through the roof. So to me, it's critical that business owners spend some time putting their training program together and automating even other stuff, not just training, but like we talked about, inventory, customer follow-up, anything that you can automate just frees up your time and allows you to focus on bigger picture things. And this is just one great example of that.
You mentioned something in the training that highlighted a part where your employees can see how much money is coming in, how much is going out, and things like that. Is that something where your employees know what each employee is making, or if they're salaried or anything like that? How does that work? Because wouldn't that cause problems if they knew?
Yeah. So that's a fine line to walk. So for instance, in that training, that's not a real P&L. It's basically a sample. So all the numbers in there are, I don't even remember where I got them, but it's sort of like, this is an example small service business, and these are example numbers, and it's really more to teach the principle of a profit loss and what the back end financials of a service business actually look like, rather than share your actual financials with your team. Now, in my company, we do share all of our revenue numbers. We share our we share like our average ticket. we have some metrics that we share with the whole team. So everyone knows what our targets are for the month, how much we've sold in a week, how much we produce in a week. We know what each individual's per man hour production rate is because we score our guys based off of how much revenue they produce in an hour every week. But yeah, you definitely don't want to cross the line of sharing private information with your, back and forth between your technicians. So you do have to kind of factor that in if you're going to be sharing certain parts of your financials with the team. But I've noticed that that's been a big plus for us when the team knows what our revenue goals are and whether we're close or far away or how much more we need to do to hit those numbers. There's a lot more buy-in. People are upselling. People get excited when we hit our numbers, when we beat our numbers. They try harder when we miss our numbers. And so that's been definitely a plus for us. And I know that can be scary for a lot of people to share any part of your financials with your team. But that's one of the reasons that profit and loss training is important, because then they can see, okay, if I did $100,000 in revenue, that doesn't mean the owner is taking 70,000 of that as profit. And some people actually think that because they've never seen how the financials in a business actually work. So when you run them through that profit loss training, and I can share that video with you guys if you want to check it out, it opens their eyes and they realize, okay, $100,000 in revenue, by the time we get to the bottom, there may only be $10,000 left or 15,000 or 20,000. And then we want to talk about what do we do with that number at the bottom? What's the purpose of that number? How does it get used? Who gets it? Where does that money go? And so that kind of education just, it gives a new perspective to your team, and they understand more how their behavior, how they can really make a difference in your company. When they also understand that it's not just you sitting back getting rich off of the sweat of their backs, which is, a pretty important point to share with people, I think.
Caleb, I would echo that right back to you. I do the same thing with a P&L, and it's we just call it a mock P&L. It's like $100,000 and percentage right on down the line. And then I also do it based on the price per truck being an average of $25, and I can show my guys that out of $25 you just made $9. At the end of it, I made $1.50 or whatever it might be, and then. It's been really helpful to share a mock, not the actual, but a mock P&L with our crew. So
yep.
And that's also, I took another one and I skewed it 10% where payroll, soap cost and fuel cost was up too high, just 10%. And it showed where there's no money to be made at the end of the day. So it really caught my guys up and got them paying attention to, how much pre-wash they're using and how much time they're spending, and they don't understand that, geez, this is a $100 truck or $25 truck, and I just have 4 of them. How come I can't make more than $16 an hour or $18 an hour, or whatever it is? And it was just that 10% skew. I was like, wow, you did that all week times 200 trucks you washed, and a mock P&L has been a really good tool for us.
And another benefit to it is when we ever talk to each other about possibly sharing financials with our team members, what's the big thing everybody's afraid of? Oh, they're going to see how much money we make and they're going to want to go start their own business. Well, that may happen, but I find more often and more likely the opposite's going to happen. They're going to see all those line items with the negative, with the minus symbol next to it, all those expenses that have to come out of that bucket of money, and just everything that goes into having that smaller amount left at the bottom. And that can be a real eye-opener for people, and develop in them an appreciation for what you do as an owner, as an entrepreneur, and just how hard it is to manage a business, all the things that you have to pay attention to, and all the expenses that you have. So to me, rather than stimulate one of your technicians to want to run out and start their own business, it's probably going to have the opposite effect. It's going to be sobering to them, and they're going to be more likely to appreciate working for someone who is managing all of that stuff for them.
Yeah, if they're smart about it, their eyes are probably glazing over when they start to see all the different things that you're talking about, and they're like, I want no part of that.
Right.
It's just easy. I just come in, do my job, collect my paycheck without having to worry about all these other things like you're mentioning too.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Kenny kind of does it too. Maybe you can comment on it, Ken. in a little bit less formal way. Oh yeah, you see that $100,000 truck? Glad you don't have that $100,000 truck payment. Hey man, how about that $5,000 fuel bill this month? Here we go. So.
Yeah. You know, we can kind of talk about it in anecdotal terms like that. I do find that when people see it on paper or when they see it on a computer screen and it looks like an actual, you know, accounting document, that's the thing that scares people, because no one wants to have any part of that. No one wants to have to be the person that inputs all those numbers and tracks all those expenses. So
yeah, I would tell my guys, I point out my nice pickup, and then I say, if you work really hard for a whole year, next year I will be able to buy another one. Now, actually, I share my expenses with the guys. I want them to know just how much something costs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, right from a hose to, hey, here's how much I spent on diesel last week, guys. Oh, new tires for the truck. Here's how many hundreds of dollars that was. You know, here's what rent is. Here's how much water is. And partially because I want them to appreciate, you know, to take care of the equipment. And the other half is I do want to scare them a little bit to let them think twice about wanting to go into business against me.
Mm-hmm. What has been the feedback from that? Have you ever had any of your staff ever specifically comment on what they see after you talk to them about that, or what they notice?
Yeah, a little bit. I get some feedback from the other guys. You know, they kind of talk,
Mm-hmm.
and they're kind of like, wow, I guess I had no idea how much, you know, something cost or blah, blah, blah. I mean, obviously, you know, they see you drive a nice pickup. Oh, boy, you make lots of money, or the wife's got a nice car. But, you know, kind of an eye opener. And actually, I mean, I get a lot of college kids. So I always tell them, here's my dad moment. I'm going to tell you about this, and you probably don't know. And a lot of these kids, some of them come from really well-off families, clueless. Have no idea, because no one's ever told them that. So I don't know. I just feel it's always a training with them.
Right. I
think they appreciate it, because I tell them it doesn't matter what business you're going to go in, the same theory applies.
Yeah. So what I like about that is, and it sounds like you do that kind of in a one-on-one, you know, you take that moment with a new hire at some point and take an opportunity to explain that to them when you can. Your approach usually?
Not so much new hire. I'll do it as the group. When we have our meetings Saturdays, and I'll just let them know, just here's where we're at, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So now imagine if we take a strategy like Ken's and make it a topic of conversation and be transparent about it, and kind of get a dialogue going if people want to talk and ask questions. That's super important. Now imagine combining that with, you know, on day one of your new hire coming in, and they sit down to training, and within the first couple of hours they've watched a video that shows what a profit and loss looks like, shows where all the money goes, talks about what gross profit is, what cost of goods sold is, highlights where their expense to the company comes out. And then at the bottom talks about net profit, what that actually is, and what net profit can be used for, and how even the net profit can be a direct benefit to them. If they've already got that knowledge in their head because they've been through that, you know, 10 or 15 minute training session, now when it's time to have that in-person dialogue at your team meetings or one-on-one or whatever, they're actually educated. And now that opens up opportunities where, you know, maybe they might ask different questions, or it might even pique their interest or get them curious about the business and wanting to contribute more, taking on more responsibility, taking more ownership of their role in what happens on the P&L, as far as being more productive, taking better care of equipment, things like that. So there's a lot of benefit to working that kind of education into your training. And so I think that's a point that we don't want to miss, is a lot of times we're blue collar guys, we focus on the work, right? Do the job, get the work done, stay on schedule, maintain your equipment, take care of the customer. But sometimes we don't think about some of that back end stuff that would really be beneficial for our team to be aware of, at least to a certain degree.
I have two guys, one that has a snow removal company that he started, and another that's kind of starting a landscaping, lawn mowing type company, you know.
Mhm.
And they do come to me and ask advice. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? You know, after I tell them that, you know, kind of opens their eyes. They don't realize, holy cow, I got a lot to learn, and I'm willing to share with them. You know, hey, I want them to succeed too. And they're both drivers for me or crew leaders, so that kind of filters down to the rest of the crew. They let them know, hey, take care of this stuff. It costs a lot of money. I know, because I'm trying to start up this and blah blah blah. So
Right.
it can be beneficial, and then like a lot of stuff, it's just a waste of time. But whatever. At least I told them maybe it'll stick.
Right. Right. And it's those people that pay attention, that those are the people that you want to kind of know about and be aware of, so that you can groom them for more responsibility. Those are the people that you want to give some extra attention to. So,
Yep.
so yeah, so this is just a good way to create some dialogue and some transparency. It kind of opens up your business a little bit with your staff, so that they feel more a part of the bigger picture. And there's a lot of value in that. So I think I'm kind of running out of time here, guys, and running out of stuff to talk about. So I really appreciate you guys having me on. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. But I can send Nate the version of the video that I put together for the profit and loss training that we use. If you guys want to check that out, I'll have him send it on to you guys.
No, that's very nice. Appreciate it, Caleb.
Yeah, absolutely.
You gave us a lot of nice things to think about, some things you've implemented, and also appreciate you, Kenny, kind of contributing as well. You can see the importance of training new hires, getting them up to speed, and trying to do it in an easy, effective way that saves us time as business owners. So really appreciate you putting that together for us this afternoon, Caleb.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks,
Yes.
Caleb.
So now one thing that we're going to start doing each week is we're going to have what we call an operator spotlight. And today we're going to highlight Clean Trucks USA. This is our operator that is based in the Orlando, Florida area. So I'd like to introduce to you Fernando Rodriguez. And what we call him here at the shop is we call him Fernando from Orlando. So Fernando, I just want to ask you a few questions. You can unmute your mic. How long have you been cleaning trucks for? Go ahead, Fernando. Go ahead, Fernando. You're unmuted, so you can just talk.
I wonder if he's having issues with the sound.
He must be. I think he was just using his mic. I saw him on earlier. All right, well, I'm going to jump to it. You know, since we'll do Fernando, maybe you can be ready for next week. Keith, you ready to be on the spot? Unmute your mic.
There you go.
Oh, Fernando, you're back. Perfect.
Can't hear you, Fernando. Dang it.
Must be kind of in a sketchy area or something. Well, Keith, maybe I could ask you a few questions if you don't mind. Keith is he's with Clean Tech down in Shakopee, which is kind of on the other side of the city is from where we're at. How long have you been cleaning trucks for, Keith?
Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
27 years.
27 years. So what's been the biggest change that you've seen in the last 27 years in cleaning trucks?
The biggest change. The chemical's a lot better now.
Nice.
A lot better.
what time period did it really start getting better?
Oh gosh, it seems like almost, oh, I would say 10 years ago,
That must have been when Blaine started.
probably. That was it.
Very nice.
And then every year, something new comes along, it seems like, or the recipe gets tweaked.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we try to work on here. In fact, we're kind of tweaking it a little bit right now with some surfactants that we're trying to help. I think Blaine kind of talked about it last week a little bit, kind of loosening up some of the proteins within the bugs. So that's something that we're working on. Now, for yourself, Keith, this is probably kind of a non-essential question for you, but how has using Bioclean made your business successful?
How I was using it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's before I started with them, it was very labor intensive. And I don't know, my desire to work for myself was pretty strong. If not, I would have quit, I would have been burnt out. So when I got started with Bioclean, it was night and day difference. I mean, I remember working so hard that first week with the new chemical. I couldn't believe how much faster it went. And so physically I paid for it that way because I was so sore, but happy with the results. And then I just started to expand from there.
Nice. So currently right now, who would you say your best customer is?
My best customer. Probably Penske.
Penske? Why?
Yeah,
Why are they your best customer?
Well, I mean, I do a lot of work for them. I get paid right away via credit card. And I have multiple locations for them. And so they're a good one. McLean is another big one for us and down in Northfield. We're there every week. So
Have either of those accounts, have they lessened at all recently?
no.
Okay, that's nice to hear. Now, you've been in business for a long time, so everybody around down there knows who you are, but in your area, who would you like to have as a new customer? Who are you looking for right now?
I have a few people that I want to reach out to, and this is the thing with the labor issues the way they are. You can get, I think it's easy to get customers, but to keep them is the next thing. And I don't want to take on a real big account if I'm struggling to keep the ones I have, or make sure we get them all done and start off on the wrong foot right away.
Mm.
And
That's
now with the COVID-19, we've separated the crews and downsized there a little bit. And and now we're coming into our seasonal stuff that's going to be ramping up and getting started. So I have to make sure I can maintain that also before I really, I don't know, it's a catch-22 sometimes with the labor force.
Yeah, for sure. Well, very nice.
Frustrating.
Well, yeah, I'm sure that many of us can feel the same way that you're feeling about that. I appreciate you just stepping in there and being my guinea pig, Keith. You did a great job. So thank you.
All right.
You notice that, if you looked at the Bioclean Network Facebook page, there's a couple questions that a couple of the operators had, today on there. I think Extreme H2O had a question about garbage. If a lot of us are washing at garbages and garbage trucks, and if we have to do it on a pad. Some things like what Garrett posted as well. He's building a new shop, and he kind of wants to hear ideas from us as other operators, how to build or what to use that would be best in their shop. So maybe in the next couple of weeks, we'll kind of have a little segment on what should a shop be like, And if you guys have any suggestions or ideas, you know, we want to hear them from you guys too. So I don't know, Blaine, did you have anything else you wanted to maybe highlight today? Otherwise, we can kind of be done a little bit early.
I just got a couple different things just to go over. We've already mentioned it, but we're testing out new surfactant. Actually, the first time it was tested a little bit larger scale was today. So Tyreek was doing it. He wanted to be here, but he had employees out, so he's actually out washing this afternoon. Otherwise, we would have given more of a report on that. So we're working on that. I also sent some out to Southeast, and they probably, I think they got it either yesterday or getting it today. So there's that. With that, I'm also talking actually this morning again, but I'm working on making some improvement for the gentle side of things, probably both the soap and the pre-wash, some new products with regard to that. This is a quick hitter informing you guys of what's going on. As some of you already noticed, we put together a new bill of lading. So we bought some software, and that's helping us actually do that, so they will be a lot more correct. The other thing that we've run into is that these trucking companies, especially R&L, does not like handwritten bills of lading. So anything that's handwritten, they seem to be prejudiced against. So we decided we better kind of step into the 20th century and maybe invest in some software for that. And the last thing I was just going to throw at you guys, what would you like us to do better? That's the key. And this is maybe a perfect time for us to work on some of those things. And we're still busy, thanks to you guys being busy and staying active, but we probably aren't as busy as we were a couple months ago. So now's a good time. If we got some downtime, Adam and I can maybe address some of those things, whether it be something to do with the website, you want us to add some stuff, explain stuff a little bit better. But at any rate, anything related to that, or you think we're a bunch of nincompoops or whatever, Kenny, don't say anything.
I was going to ask, was I supposed to comment on the video of the washing of the trailer? Because I did.
I love that comment, and I think what we should do is I think you should do a video yourself and post it, and then we can critique you too.
Well, I wasn't sure if you were showing like the proper way, a way, or.
Oh, it was just a put together quickly kind of deal. But I like
Adam,
your feedback.
The trailer, that's what happened. So it wasn't I'm demonstrating anything. That trailer, although you can't really see it, but that trailer hadn't been washed in well over a year. So the rail was kind of scuzzy. I don't know. You probably saw me hitting the rail a couple like that. So.
I noticed too that Fernando got his he's online again. Fernando, you're there again. Let's just ask you a few questions a little bit. So how long you been cleaning trucks for? Oh, I can't hear you, man. Yeah, I see you're unmuted, but for some reason the speaker's not working. Poor guy. Fernando, I appreciate your efforts, man. I appreciate your efforts. We'll get you in the next couple of weeks. All right.
Yeah. When it comes to that, before you even hook up, you might want to do it early, and then you can test your audio and stuff beforehand. So that might be something to think about for next week or whatever. But yeah, Adam, are you going to mention everybody about the speaker we have next week and try and get as many people as we can represent?
Yeah, next week, you know, during some of this downtime, I figured I'd email like a whole bunch of like professional speakers and see what kind of replies I got. So I just went to like the top 50 speakers in the world, the most recognizable ones. And I emailed like 25 of them just to see what kind of feedback I would get. And half of them are like, no way, not gonna do it. But I talked to this one guy's assistant like 3 times. And after the first conversation, she's like, she's talking about how good he is and all this. And then she asks me, what's your budget for this? And I'm like, I really am not sure what the budget's going to be. And then she says, well, his keynote addresses for 1 hour are $40,000. And I said, oh, I'm sorry I wasted your time. Like, I felt really bad. And, I just tried to be real humble and apologetic. And I'm like, I appreciate your time and everything, but, that is not going to work. She's like, oh, no problem, whatever. And then the next morning, she sent me an email, and she had talked to this John Gordon, and he said, yes, he would do it. So I'm like, phew. So he's going to jump on with us. Some of his clients, I was looking at his Facebook page and his website and all of his social media. I mean, he does these leadership presentations for like a whole bunch of Major League Baseball teams. He does all their spring trainings. He does like the NBA teams, a whole bunch of Fortune 500 companies. And I'm like, shoot, he's going to come in to talk to us Bioclean operators. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I want to make sure that all of us, as many of us as possible, are on there. And even if your employees know you're on these video calls, man, let's try to fill the room. If you got other guys that are interested in also jumping on the video call too. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. So I'm excited for that. We'll see how that goes.
Did you get a reduced rate, or you got like 3 minutes?
What's that?
Did you get a reduced rate, or is he on for like 3 minutes?
No, I got a reduced rate. He's doing it for free.
Oh.
Yeah, he's doing it pro bono. Yeah, I'm not.
Like, and I can see audio levels, and I can see that he's making noise back there. So maybe we can try one more time with Fernando before we go.
Fernando, you there, bro?
I'm here though.
What? Fernando from Orlando's back.
As a boy.
What's
You
up?
made it.
Oh,
Well, third
Hey.
time's the charm.
that was Nate though. He's the one that's kind of walking me through this.
Good.
I
Well, I'm glad you got
yeah.
it figured out. So thank
Appreciate
you
it,
so
Nate.
much for volunteering to do this. You're gonna, next time when you meet Keith in person, you owe him like a bunch of beer.
All right, I got it.
So how long have you been cleaning trucks for, Fernando?
About 20 years. Yeah, I'm getting close to 20 years. I started in
That's awesome. And have you always been in kind of the Florida area, Orlando area?
yes, I was in Orlando.
Nice. So you started your wash business in like, what is that, 2002?
2005.
98? 2005?
2005. Mm-hmm.
Nice. So what year did you start your own business?
2005. I started washing trucks in 2001.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yes, right before September 11, as a matter of fact.
Wow. So
Yeah.
you've been using a bunch of other systems in washing trucks over the last 20 some years.
Oh yeah.
So what brought you to consider Bioclean?
Well, that's basically network. I mean, in the community itself, because when I started washing trucks, there was really nobody to teach me all of this stuff. We just go to Fleet Wash or whatever, and they just give you a band and a brush, and good luck though. And then when I started my own business, like nobody really taught me this. I kind of had to learn everything on my own in a way. So just the community is very important, I believe. Network is very, 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 very important though. And then especially I was at some point I was getting accounts, and Fleet was taking them away from me because I could only cover so much ground, and that's a bummer though. So community is super important though. And then when I started trying the detergents, and I was like, oh wow, this is awesome. it saved me though. Saved me a lot of time.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about it. How has using our system or the system helped your business?
It's really cool though. Very efficient. It's awesome. You guys got everything on hand. Like back in Fleet Wash, we used to have just the injector. The acid, and like for instance, we downstream the acid, and then somebody else will come with the soap, and that's kind of basically how the two-step was applied. But with you guys, and you got everything right there on the spot though. So that's awesome though. You don't really need a lot of people. There used to be 4 of us washing. I'm really small though. I'm a very small company, but And now the two of us were just taking care of all the stuff that we used to do and more. So yeah, it's awesome. I mean,
That's
the
good to hear.
bright future. Yeah.
We appreciate that feedback, Fernando.
Yes, sir.
So currently, right now, who's your best customer?
I got a couple though. I mean, as far as revenue or as far as volume?
I just say as far as the ones you like to watch, like who's your favorite? Sometimes the one who has the best volume is the worst, or the one that pays the most is the worst. What's your feedback? Who's your best customer?
I like to watch the ones that have a lot of trucks, like volume. To me, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to maintain. The ones that I do a lot of polished trucks, and I do a lot of really, really nice rigs. And those, they become a little bit of pain on the butt, to be honest, because you kind of basically got to detail them, and On the other hand, those trucks are really good because they give you it's like a presentation, those whenever I do those really nice trucks, people get, I get a lot of good feedback from it, but I will say volume to me, because that's what I used to do in Fleet Wash and Superior Wash. It's just to wash hundreds of trucks. So that's my background basically. And then I kind of jumped to the detailing part of business after.
Nice.
Yes.
Well, I think with a lot of that experience that you have in washing trucks, a lot of our other operators can learn a lot from you too. So Fernando's been one of our operators since last November, last fall? Is that when you started?
Yes, sir.
Very nice. Well, cool.
Don't ask me anything about technology or anything, because I don't know how to work this out.
And to put the earbuds in your ear.
There you go.
No, I'm really glad you did get it figured out. If it'd be okay, Fernando, if anybody has any questions, would you be able to answer a few questions if they had any?
Of course.
All right, perfect. Any of you other operators got any questions for Fernando?
Do I have a place to stay next time I go to Disney?
Of course, man. Of course.
That may not be open for another year, though, Nate, from everything I've been hearing now.
I just went last year. I'm still recovering from that expense, so it might take me a year or two to get back.
Yeah, whenever you guys want, man. This is your home.
What part of Orlando do you live in? Are you north side or south side or east or west? Or?
I'm actually in Ocoyo right now. I bought my house in Ocoyo. I was raised in Orlando by SeaWorld. As a matter of fact, though, that's my town. But then when I got married and everything, I kind of moved a little bit north. It's a little town, tiny little town, but we're like 10 minutes away from downtown. Orlando's very small though, but yeah.
I actually do have a relevant question, because you washed for 18, 20 years before having the Bioclean system. How did you adjust and your employees adjust? And did you find it, just what did you feel about it? Like, because you were so used to so many different other methods, how was that first interaction?
At the beginning, it was kind of, first of all, to get used to the hose, it's a little heavier. That was one thing that it took a month or so to get used to it, but it's basically the same but better. I don't know if I'm making any sense over here. It's basically the same thing that everybody uses, but better, because the detergents are very consistent. That's the word I'm looking for. They're consistent. And for instance, when I used to work for Superior, their detergents are nasty. Like, they're nasty. They burn your skin, they burn your eyes. The paint on the trucks, they're gone though. I mean, if you don't know how to work with them in a way, that you'll burn the heck out of the paint though. So it's I don't even know how to explain it. It's basically the same but better. I don't know if it makes any sense.
Yeah, that's usually the biggest thing for people to adjust to, is the weight of the hose and stuff. So you get a lot of complaints. People are resistant at first, but other people are the opposite. So I just never know. I try to tell people the worst case scenario, and and other people, they're like, man, you made such a big deal out of it. That's nothing. So I don't know, but yeah, that is, I wish there was a way to lighten that, but, and still
Nah,
maintain.
that's fine. It's fine. It's fine. You'll get used to it. My father is 73 years old, and he's been washing trucks for forever though. So he had a hard time adjusting to it. But like us, no problem. That just, you know, we can deal with it.
So you're making your dad wash at 73? Is that what I heard you say?
My dad has been washing trucks. As a matter of fact, I hook him when I started watching for Fleet Wash. I kind of introduced him to my manager, and my brother and my father started working for Fleet Wash as well. So, like, we got over 60 years of experience, the three of us. Yep.
Oh, that's
Yes,
pretty
sir.
impressive.
Thank you.
How old were you when you washed your first truck?
17.
I thought you were gonna say like 10.
No.
17.
I'm old though. I'm old. I'm gonna be 37 in September. So.
Oh, you're old. Oh, well, very nice. Well, thank you so much, Fernando, for getting that and Nate for getting that technology issue taken care of. Appreciate that. Again, appreciate you operators for being on here. It's a highlight of my week to be able to be with you guys too. So it actually makes the shop kind of quiet because John's not grinding and making a whole bunch of noise and doesn't get all foggy in here from welding. So it's kind of a nice release for our shop too. So appreciate your time, everybody, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And again, if you guys need anything, make sure you reach out to us anytime. We'll be able to help you guys out, all right? Perfect.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Make sure you, not only yourself, but anybody else, is pressure everybody to get here and try to have a good showing for this guy. So,
See you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Nate.